been several hours since the Federal High Court sitting in Kano State put a halt to the suspension of Abdullahi Ganduje as the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress by his ward executives. The court also restrained all the respondents and their agents from implementing the decisions reached at the executive meeting of the APC held at Ganduje ward of Dawakin Tofa local government area on April 15, 2024, pending the determination and hearing of his substantive application for the enforcement of his fundamental rights. The judge also asked the parties to maintain status quo before the purported emergency meeting of the alleged executive members of the APC ward. The case has been fixed for April 30 for hearing. Well, for a look at this brewing crisis and its Kano State chapter and how best to resolve the crisis, we're now being joined by Dr. Salihu Usman, a former National Vice Chairman of the All Progressives Congress. Good to see you, and thank you so much for joining us on News Day.
Thank you very much. I keep correcting this. I'm not doctor, please.
Oh, okay. Your correction is noted now. Now, we would like you to tell us a bit more about the political crisis in the Kano State APC chapter leading to an impeachment attempt on Abdullahi Ganduje. Can you trace, just give us a brief history of how events unfolded?
Well, I think, in summary, it is an unavoidable situation. It all borders on the question of ability of Dr. Abdullahi Ganduje to manage political relationship back in Kano. Unfortunately, it's also a product of mismanagement in the past, in the sense that when Dr. Ganduje was governor of Kano State, they fell out with Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, who they have been together since 1999. The consequence of that is now what is boomeranging in our face. Because right now, we are acting as the opposition party in Kano, and Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso and his NNPP are the ruling party. And they are taking this almost like a payback to Dr. Ganduje. And my main position is that this is a matter that needs to be handled very politically, and it requires a level of some humility on both the part of Dr. Ganduje and on the part of our party. And I think we need to also take advantage of the current reality to really assess the situation facing the party in Kano, not just in Kano State, I think across all the state of the country. The reality is that APC as it is now is having some challenges. And part of the challenges has to do with the fact that after we had the opportunity to change the leadership of the party from Senator Abdullahi Adamu to Dr. Ganduje, all the mistakes committed by Senator Abdullahi Adamu seems to remain. They have not been corrected. What are those mistakes? The major mistake is the fact that organs of the party have been frozen. Decisions are taken discretionary by the national chairman. And because of that, management of issues as it is now is weak. Because ideally, a superior organ of the party like the National Executive Committee should have been convened and these issues reviewed and decision become binding. And my take is that generally, I think if we want to revive the strength of APC back in Kano State, we must accept to negotiate, to open negotiation with actors in Kano, including Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso and his NNPP. And I think it's also the case across all the states in the country. Because we are facing challenges, we must not shy away from accepting that reality. But above everything else, my position now is that we are faced with three burdens. political burden, moral burden, and legal burden. The legal burden is the one you mentioned, which I think is under control now, because with the party now being able to vacate whatever order that was given in the court, I think the legal burden is under control. I think the bigger burden is the moral burden, and it will continue to stare us in the face, which is the allegation or the charges, the allegation of corruption against Dr. Ganduje. And so long as relationship between Dr. Ganduje and the government of Kano State is bad, this allegation will continue to come up. And I think we need to, that is why I'm saying we need to really approach it politically by negotiating it. And until we are able to get Dr. Ganduje, clear his name, I think to that extent, we must also admit it may require Dr. Ganduje to step aside. I think this is the big challenge. The part of the moral burden, our inability to manage the moral burden, you can see, is also facing us in a bigger embarrassing situation. Look at what has happened in the last 48 hours in the case of former Governor Yahaya Bello. I mean, simple allegation of corruption against him. He's running away. As a party, we must tell him that, look, you have a duty to go and answer to the charges being levied against you. And it's even more scandalous. It raises bigger moral burden when our own governor, who succeeded Governor Yahaya Bello, is now shielding him, blocking him from being, making himself answerable to law enforcement agencies. This is completely, as far as I'm concerned, if proven, it constitutes impeachable offense. And I think our party, even before this thing cleared out, should have made a pronouncement to suspend the governor from the party until all these things are brought under control. So these are some of the issues. I think the challenge facing us as a nation is that we need to strengthen our political parties. APC, being the ruling party, must demonstrate capacity to show example. All elected representatives of the party must be accountable to the party. And this is where it is required. The leadership of the party must have superior moral standing. If the leadership of the party moral standing is questionable, they will not be able to discharge their function as required by the constitution of both the party and the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
And that moral standing is indeed on extremely shaking ground, considering the allegations that have been leveled against Ganduje. But you said that you would have recommended that the party suspended Ganduje before this got out of hand. Do you think this is a turn that we might see going forward, especially seeing as how this is affecting how governance and the APC are represented in Kano State, one of its biggest and most important states?
Frankly speaking, I wouldn't want to usurp the powers of organs of parties, of our party, which is the National Executive Committee. As far as I'm concerned, if a meeting of the National Executive Committee is convened today, I am confident that they will be able to review all of this and take the right decision that will take care of the situation. I don't see the National Executive Committee meeting and just attempting to sweep all these issues under the carpet, because at the end of the day, we want to win election. We cannot win election. We cannot earn the confidence of Nigerians if our leaders are being alleged for corruption in the manner that is coming up now. So this is my position. I think what is required at the moment is for the superior organ of the party to be convened. And this is where, for me, the whole question of the competence of Dr. Ganduje and the National Working Committee is being brought to test. If faced with all this problem, they continue to sit and imagine that this can be swept under the carpet, I believe that they don't have the interests of the party at heart. They don't even have the interests of leaders of the party at heart. They are not interested in protecting the electoral viability of the party. And to that extent, therefore, maybe it's not just Dr. Ganduje. If they continue to sit like this, maybe it's the whole National Working Committee that should go.
Now, there are reports that the president is backing Abdullahi Ganduje despite all the controversies surrounding him. So while you believe your party should have superior moral standing, I'm wondering if that is really possible if the president is interfering as been reported.
Well, the statement I issued yesterday clearly made the point. We should stop dropping the name of the president into this matter. As far as I'm concerned, the president is a law-abiding citizen, and he became the president of Nigeria because he earned it. I don't see the president, given all that is happening, will say, no, don't ignore all that is happening. I think the president knows the consequences. If we sweep all this under the carpet, I don't see already. I mean, we won more than 25% of the votes in Kano, largely because of the split board between PDP and NNPP. Now, if we continue like this, our capacity to even get that 25% vote in the presidential election moving forward in Kano State will be questionable. So I don't see the president really making the statement that are being credited to him. I have absolute confidence that President Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not one that can recklessly make. In fact, I can bet anybody what the president will say, look, go and do the needful, go and clear your name. The president will not stand and say, don't clear your name, I'm with you. The president will say, go and clear your name. That will be my take on all of these things.
And moving forward, what would you recommend to Umar Ganduje to do in order to move forward and keep the party afloat?
Look, best case scenario, I think moving forward, he should convene the meeting of National Executive Committee immediately. Once a meeting of National Executive Committee hold today, I'm confident that all this will be brought under control. Inability to convene that meeting will be the one that will make all of this thing drag. And at the end of the day, the name of the party will be smeared and we will end up losing electoral viability.
Now, while speaking on our program yesterday, Felix Moka, the National Publicity Secretary of the APC, said those who orchestrated Ganduje's suspension were not recognized members of the party. So I'm wondering, how we got to a point where outsiders can gather and announce the suspension of such a high-ranking member of your party. There's also suspicion that probably it's the NNPP is involved in all of this. I'm just wondering what has been done, to resolve the issue, and if you believe indeed that this crisis is more external than internal.
Look. I started by making the point that this is a reflection of poor management of political relationship. And for me, whether you call it internal or external, it questions the capacity of leaders to manage things and provide the needed leadership party members expect. It's a common saying. It's only when the wall cracks that the lizard will find an entry point. Nobody, NNPP or anybody outside the party, will not be able to find ways into affairs of our party in the way that has been demonstrated in the last 48 hours if we are doing all that is required of us. And all the thing, and it returned to my whole advocacy. It is possible for people who can be alleged not to be members of the party or part of the leadership of the party to do what they did, largely because structures of the party at the ward level, at the local government level, at the state level, and even at the national level are not functioning as required. Now, if meetings are taking place, it should have been expected that that meeting, if somebody outside the statutory organ, you convene another meeting and just correct it. Now, but immediately this thing came up, you see panic reaction. No, we have dissolved the executive. No, they are not members of the party. I mean, look, we should go back and do what is required. As it is, our organs of the party from the ward to national are not functioning as they are supposed to be. And that is why external people, as is being alleged, can even find their way and create the kind of havoc that is being created. But beyond that, it's also because we have compromised our moral standing as leaders of the party, from Ganduje down the line. Otherwise, how can somebody of the standing of Dr. Ganduje be faced with the kind of charges of corruption by his own state government? Ideally, I mean, to rise to the position of becoming a national chairman is not an easy thing. He earned it. And having earned it, I mean, his moral standing and integrity cannot be in dispute the way it is being disputed now. So I am arguing that, look, we created all this, and largely because we have mismanaged ourselves. And until we return and start doing the things that we ought to do, this thing is not going to go away. Because I don't see Kano state government for the next 3 years stepping down to say, okay, everything is okay with between us and Ganduje. You know, so long as Ganduje has not reconciled himself or renegotiated his relationship back in Kano in such a way that he keep Kano state government in check, this thing will continue to come up.
Well, on that note, we'd like to thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, Salihu Lukman, the former APC National Vice Chairman. Good to have you on Newsday.